Vinesh Phogat will be coming back empty handed from the Olympics in a horrible, cruel twist. A technical twist, but one that has erupted into a political war. Let me introduce our guests on the program today. Joining us is Sanjay Jha, supporter of the Congress, Sandip Ghose, political analyst, normally a supporter of the Prime Minister, but as politics erupts even over this Olympic medal, we'll find out what his position is. Sumanth Raman, who has been, he says, smelling a conspiracy or something not adding up into what has happened in Paris. And also joining us, the editor of The Bridge, sports journalist Arshi Yasin. Thank you very much, all of you, for joining us. These have been heartbreaking twists and turns that have taken place in Paris. The Prime Minister has expressed what he's called his despair. India has registered a strong protest, but yet politics has erupted. There's been an uproar in Parliament over this, and we're trying here to understand in as dispassionate a way as possible whether the uproar is fair or whether indeed what has happened is just a horrible twist of fate. For those who haven't followed this story, Vinesh Phogat was found to be 100 grams over her requisite weight. PT Usha there explained that all kinds of things were tried, including Vinesh Phogat cutting her hair to get to the required weight, and yet rules are rules, as several veteran sports journalists have been arguing. This is not sabotage, this is not a conspiracy, but that did not stop today leaders of the opposition from walking out of parliament. Let me start with you, Sanjay. By now, we've all had time to. Sanjay just disappeared there. So let me actually bring in. Oh, there's Sanjay again. Sanjay, let me start with you. I was saying that by now we've had some time to process what's happened. And a number of journalists for whom I have a great amount of respect have actually been saying that this is not to do with politics. This is not to do with Vinesh Phogat's fight with the Wrestling Federation, with Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh. It is simply to do with the rules of the Olympics. Why then are we seeing this uproar? Why then are we seeing the opposition members walking out of parliament?
Barkha, good evening. Let's be honest. Today, sports people who represent the country are more popular, more credible than politicians, which includes the Prime Minister. I think people in India trust a doctor, people trust nurses, they trust engineers, they trust people who are working in public services. They don't trust our politicians. And let me tell you, as far as Vinesh Phogat's case is concerned, here is the point. If you listen to many sports experts, and I followed a lot of them, I have also been at some point part of the sports universe myself. They have also pointed out this is extremely unusual. Extremely unusual. There is somebody I heard who said, she brought her weight down to 50 kilograms, and that was a tough one. But why are we forgetting that she beat the world champion in that same category just yesterday? And it's not as if the athlete herself is not aware of what the medical stipulations are in terms of weight and what does it take in terms of what you eat, the calorie burn, the hydration, etc., etc. Here is the fundamental point that I go back to what she actually put out on her post, Barkha. I think you need to pull that out in your program, where she said that I have not been given support by this government in getting even accreditation for the people I want with me. She was very clear that she was not being backed for even preparing for the Paris Olympics. She was very vocal, in fact, very explicit in saying that I do not even trust the support staff because they'll be appointed by people who are close to Brij Bhushan Singh. These are fundamental questions. And let's not deny, Barkha. I mean, this is a moment of an emotional, I think, grieving for a lot of people in India who were yesterday tuned in to watch her and watch the Indian hockey team play their hearts out for our country. And I can tell you what I think bothers everyone here, that the same political party that harassed her, can we really dehyphenate that? Can we dehyphenate the reality that Narendra Modi did not even find time to meet her or tweet to her when they were begging for justice on the sexual harassment case against Brij Bhushan Singh? that they had to wait for the Supreme Court to intervene. And by the way, let me tell you, the Delhi High Court, the Delhi High Court, Delhi police rather, put out a charge sheet. And let me quote to you what the charge sheet says. Singh was liable to be prosecuted and punished for offenses of sexual harassment, molestation, and stalking. And we know that this government tried to stonewall that. And you have a scenario where they were beaten up. I'm glad you're playing up these images, and I hope people of India are watching this. This is how we
Hmm.
treat Commonwealth gold winners, Asian Game gold winners, Olympic champions. You heard what Mr. Punia said yesterday, that her victory in the Olympics is a slap on the face of people like Brijbhushan Singh and Mr. Tomar. So there is a political context. Let's not try and pretend there is no political context. There is.
Okay.
I think this government has to answer for that. And because the Indian Olympic Association has coaches and experts and bureaucrats who are supposed to know the rules, it was their duty to make sure that after she did well and entered the finals, what she ate, what rest she took, what she drank, everything had to be monitored to make sure that her weight was down. You can't just pin it on the athlete, as many people from the right wing are trying to do.
Okay, I want to play out what Mansukh Mandavia said on the floor of Parliament, but I will say one thing, or I will ask you one thing, Sanjay. The Prime Minister today expressed despair. India has complained about what has happened. The BJP supporters argue that if the government was really vindictive, then they would not have had her representation at Paris to begin with. How do you respond to that?
Well, I think the simple answer to that is that this government is not doing anybody a favor, Barkha. You know, the fact is that sports athletes have to go through grueling rounds of qualification to meet the standards of Olympics. And let me tell you, and your viewers should know this, Barkha. This is a very important point that large parts of media had blacked it out, big media, not you. But let me tell you this. During the time that Brijbhushan Singh was playing havoc with the entire system, there were no elections to the Wrestling Federation of India. Do you know what happened, Barkha? Our athletes could not compete. I'm talking about the wrestlers. They could not compete in world championships under the national flag or the national anthem or representing India. They had to go there as neutrals. Can you imagine the humiliation? And this is a political party that claims to be a nationalist. I mean, it's a joke.
Okay.
You think Mr. Modi has done a favor to Vinesh Phogat to let her go to Olympics? I mean, the BJP hasn't done a damn. These athletes have earned it on their own, despite the
Okay.
odds.
Sandeep, please make your point.
Yeah, I said, I think it's totally unfortunate people trying to conflate the two issues, irrespective of what may have happened or not happened before this. The very fact that an Indian athlete, whosoever might be, or any athlete getting disqualified in this way, is a hugely tragic event. It's a matter of not only a personal, setback, disappointment for the athlete, but it's also a matter of national embarrassment. Anybody happening like that, we have had other instances. Somebody was just citing Usain Bolt got for a false start of some fraction of a second got disqualified, and that was a huge embarrassment. So that point is taken, and I think that is what we need to focus on rather, and because that's a serious enough issue. And if we get diverted to the politics of it, I think that is where we'll be even doing both the sport and the sports person a disservice. So that is what one needs to look at. The fact is, I would have no reason to disbelieve. These people are the doctors and others who are speaking, whether Sumariwala or Padiwala, they are also professional in their own rights. They're no government stooges. They have a professional standing in their own field. So they are talking about what happened. And I found that convincing that after she was obviously struggling to stay within that 50-kilo limit because that was not her natural weight. And so therefore, she had to do that even before her previous bout when she was just marginally below that. And she afterwards, they said that she obviously for hydration, etc., she had to drink water and eat for her nutrition and everything. And then she suddenly realized that she had just gone above the mark. And that's where people are saying that they try to do all sorts of things. I'm not validating any of these claims. But the fact is, there was obviously a very, very marginal, a small margin of error over there, which people were grappling with. And I
Yeah.
think there, whether it was negligence on her part or others not taking, I think that is something which we need to pay attention to, because, as I said, it's just not limited to her. It's a it's a matter of a national embarrassment. It is a setback for Indian sport, and forgetting what had happened. It's not, forget what, if there is this previous incident, if that didn't happen, and if this was any other athlete also in this final stage getting disqualified, I think all of
Yeah.
us are broken just the way we are about Phogat. It doesn't increase you don't sort of increase the level of tragedy by associating it with the other controversy and giving it a political twist.
Okay, I'm told we can now play out PT Usha's statement. This is part of her long, detailed statement that is available on her platform. Let's take a look.
Now, Vinesh had 3 bouts, and hence, to prevent any dehydration, some amount of water had to be given. We found that her post-participation weight was increased more than normal, and the coach initiated the normal process of weight cut that he has always employed with Vinesh. This is something that's worked with her for a long period of time. He felt confident that this would be achieved, and over the night, we went ahead with the weight cut procedure. However, in the morning, we found that despite all of our efforts, her weight was 100 grams over her 50 kilogram weight category, and hence she was disqualified. We had tried all possible drastic measures throughout the night, including cutting off her hair, shortening her clothes, and despite all of this, we could not make that 50 kg weight category.
It's terrible to actually sort of even listen to how, I mean, I can feel that desperation, shortening clothes, cutting hair. So I guess my point to Sanjay and Sumanth would be that if there was no interest in, or if there's any element of conspiracy or sabotage, why would even these measures be tried? These are really desperate measures: shortening clothes, skipping, sauna, taking her hair off. If nobody wanted to actually help her, none of these things would have been done, I imagine.
I think I'll unmute.
Sumanth,
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah. I think I was on mute. Yeah. Barkha, first
Yeah.
of all, there are a few questions which need to be answered. Nobody is alleging a conspiracy or a political conspiracy kind of thing. But clearly, there are certain questions which need to be answered. I was watching eminent sports journalist Krishnaswamy, and I've been a sports commentator myself for many years. I've covered Olympics and so on. But the point really is that how often has this happened in the Olympics in wrestling before the medal event? It happens all the time in wrestling, where at the initial weigh-in there are there are wrestlers who don't make the cut. That is fine. This is a medal event. It happened once more at Paris, but that happened in a bout where the person was contesting was not a medal bout, right? So it's not as if this is something which happens every other day, every week, where somebody who's fighting for a medal finds themselves 100 grams overweight. Now, 2-3 questions need to be asked. Now, first of all, you have a contradictory story where you have the minister in parliament saying that the team did a great job or the team is not to be blamed, more or less sort of pinning the blame on Vinesh for being overweight and so on, which has been criticized by Supriya Sule and Priyanka Chaturvedi and all of them. But that's a separate issue. Now, you have the Wrestling Federation of India boss saying that it's entirely the fault of the coach and support staff and there has to be an inquiry. So there is no coordination in the way this is being handled. Now, 2 key points. One, if she weighed in at 49.8 or 49.7 before in the morning, they say that the weight apparently went up more than normal. Now, you see very carefully that Dr. Pardiwala did not mention whether it went up by 2.5 kgs or 2.7 kgs or whatever as being claimed on social media. We don't know the official weight.
No, that's not true. PT Usha said it's 50 kilos plus 100 grams. She said that.
No, Barkha. I'm talking about what was her weight the previous
prior
night.
to that,
Which
previous night.
which
Okay.
they were trying.
All right.
Dr. Patiwala said we found it to be significantly
Okay.
above the normal increase. Now, what that number
Okay.
was, we don't know, which is why she had to go through this entire exercise of sitting in a sauna, starving through the night, and jogging and trying desperately to sweat and lose the weight. That's why they tried as a desperate measure. Now, the question is, there is a nutritionist who's attached with her. So questions will be asked. Why was she allowed to gain that much of weight between the, during the course of that particular one day? Was it the
Right.
normal?
So
What happened? So
do
somebody
I?
has to be blamed, Barkha. You can't just say that,
So you are
she
not
was
you
on.
are not you are not contextualizing this like Sanjay Jha in the context of her fight against Brij Bhushan Saran, BJP leader. You are saying something is not adding up because of like her coach, her nutritionist. Somebody has to answer.
No,
These are
no.
two different
There,
things.
there are two different things. Now, what their motive? See, there are two things here. Vinesh's husband apparently was present on the spot. Now, that is what is mentioned by multiple media outlets. The point I'm trying to make is, look, she is not a child going to her first games, so there would have been some awareness of what she needs to take and what she, how much her weight is likely to increase and so on. But at the end of the day, the buck stops at the coaches, at the team that manages her, her nutritionist and her coach. They are the eventual ones who will have to, take the responsibility. So if
Right.
this, there are two things. One is she has always been traditionally contesting in the 53 kg, and she moved to the 50 kg because she believed that she had a better chance of
Yeah.
winning a medal at 50
Yeah.
kg because of two Olympics she was knocked out in the quarterfinals. Now, the
Yeah.
key, I am not for a moment going down the Sanjay Jha route here on this case, though we often agree on a lot of things. On this case, I don't think that this is a grand conspiracy which has been hatched in Delhi to deny her a medal. No, I don't think that is there at all. And if that is the case, there is no evidence at all of that at this moment. But
Okay.
there is evidence that some people have completely screwed up, whether it is her coach, whether it is her nutritionist, whoever is the team that, whether the IOA. Look, here is the lady, Barkha, 1 minute. Here is the lady who's likely to be the first gold medal winner for India in the Olympic Games. Nobody from the IOA monitored her carefully during that period. So somebody,
Yeah.
the buck stopped somewhere. That's the point.
I think before I get Arshi in, I think Sanjay Jha, brief interjection there because Sumanth's argument is very different from yours. You are contextualizing her entire debacle because it is a horrible debacle in the context of her fight with a BJP leader, right?
Mhm,
Your
mhm.
sabotage is something you believe has shades of politics to it. Sumanth is saying
Yes.
there has been a screw up. Somebody has to be held responsible. We have to find out what was that meal that she was given. What did her coach ask her to do? Did the IOC do what they needed to do? But he's not connecting it to the to her year-long battle with Brij Bhushan Saran. Why are you connecting it? Very brief because Arshi has to come in. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Barkha, I think you and Sumanth here have missed, as they say, the woods for the trees. I have not
Okay.
said it. Vinesh has said it herself. She's put it
Well,
on
Vinesh
record.
hasn't spoken right now. We
No,
have
no,
to
hang
wait
on,
for
hang
Vinesh
on.
to speak. Yeah.
Barkha, let me finish. She has said it publicly. I mean, she will speak for sure. She has said it publicly a few months ago. She said that there was an attempt to sabotage her for even going to the Paris Olympics. These are the words of the individual who today is nationally center stage. These are not my words. She has accused the entire nexus of Brij Bhushan Singh and Sanjay Singh, not accrediting her coach or her physio. She said there's an attempt. She's even gone so far as to mention that it's possible that they will frame her in doping. These are her words. How can you and I here sit on this channel and not give it the importance that it deserves? These were her apprehensions. That is her
This
anxiety out
is
in the
this
public
is
domain.
Okay, I do remember the headline. It was from April. We'll pull it up as
Yeah, yeah.
as soon as we can. This is not that headline, guys. Can we please pull up the right headline? But in the meantime, Arshi, yes, we'll wait for Vinesh to give her own account of what's happened. But I think Sumanth is fair to ask. Somebody screwed up. Somebody has to be held accountable. I also know that it's very difficult to decontextualize Vinesh from her battle, where she continued to believe, even after Brij Bhushan Saran had gone, that his people controlled the federation. Here's the headline that Sanjay was referring to. It's up on your screen right now. What if coaches try to mix something in my water and trap me in doping? So I think that's the
Exactly.
point, Sanjay. Okay. But I think we've seen everybody today, from the president to the prime minister to PT Usha. PT Usha was not usually hugely empathetic about those street protests, but everybody today has tried to rally around her. Point one. Point two, India has protested. Point three, a lot of journalists on the ground, Boria Majumdar and others, have made the argument that everything possible was done to help her. Where do you weigh in as a journalist on this entire episode, Arshi?
Hey, yeah. So, Barkha, everybody is talking about what has happened in the past few hours, right? But uh, we need to dive down into what has happened in the last 1 year, because what we are seeing today is not an outcome of just today, right? So, it is so important to reflect that why. So, Vinesh's natural category is 53 kg, right? What were the reasons that she chose 50 kg? I think we need to talk about it. And obviously, the reason is tied down with the restless protest. So I will just, try to explain. I'll be very brief in this. Like, at the Tokyo Olympic Games as well, Vinesh Phogat competed in the 53 kg category. And since then, she has stuck to it. And that said, everything changed once she began spearheading the protest against the former president of the Wrestling Federation of India, Bridge Bhushan Saran Singh, right? So spending days on the streets in the protest kept Vinesh away from the practice and the tournaments. Meanwhile, we have another wrestler. Her name is Antim Pangal, who is the under 20 world champion as well. She made rapid strides and emerged as the mainstay in the 53 category, weight category. So when Antim won bronze at the 2023 World Championship, she duly bagged the Olympic quota for the 53 kg category. Please note, if Vinesh had to, she had the time and energy to focus on her bout, she would have still played in that particular category. So when Antim, she bagged the Olympic quota for the 53 kg category, thereafter Antim consolidated her position as the top wrestler in the category by winning a bronze in the Asian Games as well. Please note, because of her time which was being taken away by the wrestler protest, even Vinesh couldn't go to the Asian Games, right? So Vinesh, to keep her Olympic aspiration alive, she had to pivot fast, and hence she took the decision of competing in the 50 kg category. So
But
I
was that
think
a
this
correct?
has
Was
to.
that the correct decision? In retrospect, was that the correct decision? Because I'm reading commentary saying she shouldn't have been allowed to do that. I don't know whose final decision that would have been.
But she had no other choice, right? Because in her weight category, someone else was going. So
I
what choice
see.
was she left with, right?
I
She has
see.
done
I
everything
see.
possible to go there and to represent our country. I think it's very, very important. I know right now everybody from all the aspects, political people, journalists, everybody, people who don't even understand sport, right? For example, you open Twitter, we are all seeing what kind of comments are being made, and a lot of insensitive comments as well. So as I said, Barkha, in the morning, right, good, bad, ugly, whatever is being thrown, it's on Vinesh. Nobody else's name is out there. We can go on and talk about whose fault this is, nutritionist or the federation or the ROA, etc. But the fact of the matter is that Vinesh is there. She's out there, fighting, be it on the street to fighting for the honor and dignity of the wrestlers, and now again for the country. So it's what has happened is extremely sad, but I think the narrative come to weave everything around that. Okay, some conspiracy has happened in the past 24 hours. That is not the case, but definitely if you go back and tie down and connect all the dots, the reason why Vinesh is not fighting in the 53 age category is the wrestler protest, right? So it's important to understand this aspect.
Okay, that is important contextualization. I know all of you are on very tight deadlines and you have other programs, so I'm going to take quick last comments. I'll start with you, Sandeep. Can we unmute Sandeep?
Yeah, Barkha, what Arshi has said, I think that's very relevant. Suman and me are, I think, on the same page on this, and certainly there has to be investigation because in India, that is part of our this thing. Maybe people are casual. People didn't anticipate these things. Sometimes we are, way back when things were not so professional, and I've heard these stories from my father. There was a gentleman who was their contemporary, and I don't want to get into detail. He had gone in those days to Olympics. He was, I forgot, he was a boxer. He was in one category, but they said he got so excited the first after he won this first round. He went and sloshed himself that night, and next day when he went, and he was found overweight and he lost, and it was a rest of his life was kind of drowned in that frustration. So those days they used to do that sort of a thing, but I'm not saying that's the situation here, but I think people don't probably see it holistically. If that you're saying that if we saw a prospect of gold in her, then in other places they would probably be monitoring her, following through
Yeah.
much more closely. That we
Yeah.
probably don't have that
So there
discipline.
has been a lapse. Yeah, there has been a lapse. Sanjay, your last thoughts. Arshi says yes, there's a context to the wrestlers' protest, and that context is that she lost a year of her sporting life because she was raising her voice on the street against Bhushan Saran. But other than that, in the last 24 hours, you can't allege a political conspiracy.
Barkha, I completely agree with what I think Arshi mentioned. And just for the record, I think Antim Panghal lost 10-0 in the 53 kilo category. So whoever took these decisions has to explain to the people of India, because you know what we are doing, Barkha. Let's not try and be at the periphery of this conversation. I love sports. I love sports people, and I can tell you it's a shame that politics has played around with the lives and careers and respect and dignity of these women champions of India. I want to ask this question of Mr. Modi's government. What happened to the June 15 charge sheet against Brij Bhushan Singh? Brij Bhushan Singh is central to this conversation. I think what RC mentioned is absolutely clear. Why were the women wrestlers protesting? It was about Brij Bhushan Singh and sexual harassment. And Mr. Modi's government treated them so shabbily and shoddily, and we were quiet. Large sections of India did nothing or did not even speak a word in their support. Here is my last point. There are experts, as I think somebody mentioned. I play a very club level sport. But even in a club level sport, you know whether how much you should be hydrated before a match. You can't afford to be heavy in your tum. In this case, you're talking about an Olympic champion before the biggest match of her life. I mean, didn't the person who was taking care of her know that if she's today 49.7 or 49.9, how much should you eat, what you should eat, and what portions, how can you stagger it, what hydration do you need, how much should the individual actually run or jog? This is basic scientific control, and this is what experts do. I want an explanation as a citizen of this country, forget the politics, from the Indian Olympic Association. I want to know what are some celebrities doing there as members of the IOC. I want to know what is the sports minister's explanation. And Mr. Modi and his government has to tell the people of India what justice will she get on the Brij Bhushan Singh case. That's central to this entire conversation.
Okay, Arshi, quickly, and then someone can have the last word. Arshi? I can't hear Arshi.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening today.
Am I audible? Yeah.
Yeah, you were muted at your end. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, what Sir said is extremely well spoken, because somebody has to be held accountable, right, for what happened. And this is a lost opportunity, and this is Vinesh's last Olympics. So it's not that this opportunity and this moment will come back again, right? So things would have been very different if she was in the 53 category, right? So I think but as I said, like it's not.
But again, I want to ask you. You said she had no choice but to compete in this category because the other spot was taken. But whose decision was it to put that, not put her in that spot?
See, because of course she was busy with the protest, right? So that's when the Asian Games happened, and Antim won, and she got.
I see. So you cannot remove the backdrop of the protest.
Correct.
Because it is because she was busy with the protest that she had to compete in a category that was not her own. Got it. Sumanth, last word.
One last thing.
Yeah, sorry.
An athlete's primary role is to focus on the sport, focus on the craft, right? But because of other reasons, she was there on the streets, giving voice to the harassment and the abuses which were there happening against the former, WFLC.
Yes.
Now the point is,
Yes.
imagine अगर वो वहाँ पे नहीं होती, तो she would have focused on the sport and on herself, right? And today the story would have been completely different than what it is.
I think I've understood finally. Sorry for some very silly questions, but because I don't follow sport in that close way, this was important to clarify. Sumanth, go ahead. Yeah.
Barkha, I think the what needs to be done now is very simple. The inquiry has to be conducted, particularly with reference to this 12 or 24-hour period of what actually happened, who decided or who took the decisions on how much intake she must have. Is that normal? Is that abnormal compared to what has happened in the past? Where and if it was not normal to do what was done, then serious questions need to be asked as to why it was done and whether there was any ulterior motive and all that. Last and very important, we need to hear from the girl herself. We need to hear from Vinesh. I mean, all this stuff about PT Usha sitting there and Pardiwala is all good, but until you know, I mean, it's her version which hasn't come out yet, and I'm finding it. I know that she must be gutted and she's dehydrated. She's had to have IV fluids and all that, but sooner than later we need to hear from her. And if we don't hear from her by tomorrow, then the conspiracy theories will continue and will gain even more strength. If she doesn't clarify categorically and say, look, I think everyone did their best and this is something which unfortunate, which just happened, she's got to clarify that. Otherwise, this is not going to die out so easily.
Yeah, but what a terrible day! What a terrible, terrible day! And I mean, I think if we are feeling gutted, I think of this young 20. She's young, right? She's 29 years old. Her hair being cut, skipping through the night, not having water, just somehow trying to get to that requisite weight. And sorry, Sanjay, are you still trying to say something? I was closing, but go ahead. Sanjay
But
Jha, please unmute.
yeah,
Yeah.
Barkha, my short point, adding to what Arshi mentioned earlier, tell me, should a player who's going to play the biggest match of her life be forced into a situation where she has to be awake periodically through the night, go through sauna, have a haircut, not have a drop of water? She has to be pushed to that kind of physical situation to fight. Somebody has to explain this. And, as she rightly mentioned, a sports player focuses on their art and craft. It was the job and the responsibility of these people who worked as her coaches, selected by the powers that be, who need to explain why they failed her. And in the process, they failed all of us. They failed the people of India. And of course, most of all, they failed Vinesh. She deserved much better than this.
Okay, Arshi, you had a minute to add something. Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, one point, along with the physical and mental trauma that she has endured last night. Imagine blood being taken out of her body. Just, I mean, it's so harsh. And in fact, if you have read the reports, she was very close to being close to death like situation, right? And the doctor said that if we push her beyond this, she might not be able to survive. And see, as I said, her life, Vinesh, as an athlete, is way more valuable than one medal, right? One win.
Why was it
So I think
allowed
we
to
all-
get there? That's the point.
Yes, exactly. So I understand. So hence, coming back to, like, definitely an inquiry should happen, and we have to look
Yeah.
at from all the aspects and not,
Yeah.
trying to focus
Yeah.
and taking a very one-sided approach.
Okay, we leave it there. It's been a distressing day for all Indians. More than a billion dreams crushed. But as Arshi, I think, pointed out to me in the morning, if you're sad, can you even begin to imagine what Vinesh Phogat is feeling at this moment? Thank you to Sandip, Sumanth, Sanjay, and Arshi, and to our audience. See you soon.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.